Hello viewers, welcome to the series of lectures on tourism in New Zealand. The topic has been divided into two parts, and for your convenience, this part has been further divided into 5 subtopics as follows: Introduction, History at a glance, Physical geographical features of New Zealand, Culture and ethnicity, and finally about the climate and tourism. Introduction. New Zealand is an island country, comprises 2 main islands, the North Island, the South Island, and numerous smaller islands. New Zealand is situated in the southwestern Pacific Ocean, some 1,500 kilometers east of Australia across the Tasman Sea and 1,000 kilometers south of Pacific Islands. As per the available evidences and carbon dating results, New Zealand was one of the last lands to be settled by humans, and this may be because of its remoteness. New Zealand's capital city is Wellington, while its most populous city is Auckland. New Zealand is a developed country with high per capita income. New Zealand has mixed economy, more depends on international trade, exports and service sector. New Zealand has trade relationship with most developed countries in the world such as the United States of America, Australia, United Kingdom, Japan and China. As per World Bank statistics, New Zealand is a high income economy and ranks highly in international comparisons of national performance such as education, health, economic freedom and quality of life. New Zealand is a sparsely populated country due to its long isolation and has a distinctive biodiversity of animal, fungal and plant life. Country has clean water bodies, rivers, pleasant weather conditions and well-educated people with high standard of social life and living. Tourism is an important industry in New Zealand, contributing significantly to the country's economy. Tourism industry contributed 7.3 billion New Zealand dollars, which is 3.7% of the country's GDP in 2013, as well as created 1,10,800 direct full-time equivalent jobs, nearly 6% of New Zealand's workforce. Tourism has a significant role in indirect contribution of 5% to GDP through supportive or allied industries. International tourist spending accounted for 16% of New Zealand's export earnings, nearly 10 billion New Zealand dollars. The contribution of both international and domestic tourism is significant, that contribute in total 24 billion New Zealand dollars to New Zealand's economy every year. Tourism development and enhancing the tourist level has been the top priority in last several years, which is evident by the current Prime Minister John Key also holds the portfolio of Minister for Tourism. The unique selling proposition of New Zealand tourism is its clean, green and pure environment and as an adventure playground due to its diverse and unique topography. This has been reflected and marketed globally through their many marketing campaigns, and the latest successful campaign is 100% Pure New Zealand. The vast majority of tourist arrivals to New Zealand come through Auckland Airport, which handled nearly 15 million passengers in 2013. 2% of visitors arrive by sea as of 2009. Many international tourists spend time in Auckland, Christchurch, Queenstown, Rotorua and Wellington. Many tourists travel large distances through the country during their stays, typically using coach lines or hire cars. Domestic tourism is also important, though expenditure and trip numbers have been declining or stagnating in the face of fast-growing international tourism. Domestic tourist spending of 9.8 billion New Zealand dollars a year still exceeds that of international visitors of 6.5 billion New Zealand dollars. facts and figures about the country. Total area 2,61,021 square kilometers. Population 4.471 million as per World Bank Statistics 2013. Capital city Wellington. Largest city Auckland. Currency New Zealand dollars. International dialing code +64. Language English, Maori and New Zealand Sign Language. GDP per capita is 41,555 US dollars. Life expectancy on an average is 81 years and the best travel time is between November to April. History at a glance. The history of New Zealand is just 700 years old, starts with the discovery and settlement of Polynesian people in these islands at present known as New Zealand. New Zealand was one of the last major land masses settled by humans and was first settled by Eastern Polynesians between 1250 and 1300. Over the centuries that followed, these settlers developed a distinct culture now known as Maori. It is also believed that Maori were the first to arrive in New Zealand, journeying in canoes from Hawaii about 1,000 years ago. A Dutchman, Abel Tasman, was the first European to sight the country, but it was the British who made New Zealand part of their empire. In 1840, the Treaty of Waitangi was signed, an agreement between the British Crown and Maori, the natives of New Zealand. The treaty established British law in New Zealand and is considered New Zealand's founding document and an important part of the country's history. The building where the treaty was signed has been preserved and today the Waitangi Treaty grounds are a popular attraction. The country remained as an enthusiastic member of British Empire and contributed troops in both First World War and the Second World War, with the great support of British Empire. Coming to the physical geographical features of New Zealand. New Zealand is located in the southwestern Pacific Ocean and is made up of two main islands and a number of smaller islands. The two main islands, the North Island and the South Island, are made up of volcanoes and glaciations and are separated by the Cook Strait. New Zealand is long and narrow landmass with about 15,000 kilometers of coastline. The country has extensive marine resources due to its long and rich coastline. Its exclusive economic zone is one of the largest in the world, covering more than 15 times its land area. The South Island is the largest landmass of the country and major geographical feature in Southern Alps which run north to south along the length of the island. There are 18 peaks over 3,000 meters. The highest mountain is Mount Cook at 3,754 meters above sea level. To the east of the Southern Alps is the rolling farmland of Otago and Southland and the vast flat Canterbury Plains. Moving glaciers, deep fjords and large lakes are some other major geographical features of South Island. The North Island is less mountainous but is marked by volcanism. In the north, the island has some small mountain ranges running through the middle and fertile farmland on either side. The major geographical feature of North Island is highly active volcanoes. Taupo volcanic zone has formed a large volcanic plateau in the central part of North Island. The plateau also hosts the country's largest lake, Lake Taupo, nestled in the caldera of one of the world's most active supervolcanoes. The country owes its varied topography and perhaps this varied topography is the unique tourism resource for the country. New Zealand is not part of the continent of Australia but of the separate submerged continent of Zealandia. New Zealand and Australia are both part of the wider regions known as Australasia and Oceania. The term Oceania is often used to denote the region encompassing the Australian continent, New Zealand and various islands in the Pacific Ocean that are not included in the 7-continent model. Culture and ethnicity. The culture of New Zealand is largely influenced by British, Oceanian and other European customs, but inherited by Maori culture. Initially, it was unicultural majorly by Maori settlements, but later it was bicultural due to the influence of British culture by colonization and local culture. Now we can see the mixture of many cultures in New Zealand, but majority it is Maori and Europeans. Multi-ethnic culture reflects in the society of New Zealand. European settlement in large started to begin after 1840. Till then, New Zealand remained a Maori culture country, whereas from the United States and Britain frequently sailed New Zealand waters, married or had children with Maori women, and introduced trappings of Euro-American culture, especially muskets. Missionaries began their activities around 1814. The gold discovery in 1860 brought Chinese miners from Australia as well as China and Hong Kong to New Zealand. This made many foreigners to come and settle in New Zealand, making it multi-ethnic society. The Chinese have settled in New Zealand and now they are chiefly market gardeners, cafe owners and professionals. Minority of Jewish population also can be seen in New Zealand. Business and banking was supported by Jewish. Other minorities who have retained much of their culture are Polish, Lebanese, Yugoslav and Dutch. Informally, there are mainly 2 categories of New Zealand citizens. One the original New Zealanders and the other is Pakeha. The citizens of New Zealand origin or native Polynesian settlers born are called as New Zealander and also most commonly known informal word Kiwi. The New Zealand citizens born for European descendants are commonly called as Pakeha in Maori language. The word Pakeha today is increasingly used to refer to all non-Polynesian New Zealanders. Regional cultural distinctions can be seen more between North Island and South Island, coinciding largely with population composition and size. 500,000 Maori plus nearly 2 million Pakeha, the Europeans' descent live in the north and 800,000 Pakeha live in the south, culturally subdivided between English descent mostly in Canterbury and Scottish descent mostly in Otago. The emerging culture leans increasingly on Maori symbolism in art and literature. Maori culture is being reinvented and parts of it are incorporated in ceremonies and other public events. Tourists are mostly interested to see and experience the cultural assets of Maori in their visit to New Zealand. Visit to New Zealand will be incomplete without a visit to Maori cultural tour. Visiting dignitaries, VIPs to New Zealand, receive a Maori welcome, which is a tribal dance and touching the tip of nose. It is really an amazing experience to watch the all-black rugby team perform a Haka Maori dance before games, and the Maori word Haka means challenge. Demography. As per the 2013 census, 74% of New Zealand residents identified ethnically as European and 14.9% as Maori. Other major ethnic groups include Asian 11.8% and Pacific people 7.4%. The population has become more diverse in recent decades. In 1961, The census reported that the population of New Zealand was 92% European and 7% Maori, with Asian and Pacific minorities sharing the remaining 1%. The recent census clearly shows that the migration of different countries' people to New Zealand in past 3 to 4 decades has been tremendously increased. The European origin New Zealanders are mainly from the United Kingdom, Holland, Yugoslavia, Poland, Germany, Sweden and Austria. Migrants from Asia are majorly descendants of the Chinese. Recent immigrants have come from Southeast Asia. The original Maori population has been estimated at 200,000. By 1900, their decline as a result of war and disease to just over 40,000 was viewed as the signal of a dying culture or race. The population has risen steadily since then, and now utmost importance has been given to improve the life standard of Maori people in New Zealand. Maori people are getting good education, health and employment and gradually migrating to urban areas. Language. New Zealand has 3 official languages. Those are English, Maori and New Zealand Sign Language. English is the language of day-to-day business within New Zealand due to the long rule of British colony and relationship with Commonwealth. Maori is a Polynesian language similar to the languages of other Pacific island cultures such as Hawaiian, Tongan and Samoan. Over 157,000 people in New Zealand speak Maori as per 2006 census. The Maori language is the oldest language in the country and has been part of New Zealand and its culture since the arrival of first people into the islands. However, Maori has only been recognized as an official language of New Zealand since the Maori Language Act of 1987. Maori and English are used throughout the country in various television and radio programs. As with other regions in the world where 2 cultures have been mixed, English has influenced Maori and Maori has influenced English. A number of words in each language have crossed and interchanged into the vocabulary of the other. Many places or important cities in New Zealand have been called with 2 names, the original Maori name and the adopted English one. And in some cases, these names are used interchangeably. Kiwi society and culture. There can be marked differences between Maori and New Zealand European societies and culture. This is particularly apparent and can be experienced when moving in tribal circles. Due to colonization and tribal differences, there can also be subtle but important variations in protocols. Some of the highlights of social behavior of New Zealand people. New Zealanders are friendly, outgoing, somewhat reserved, initially yet polite, and enjoy extending hospitality. They are quite easy to get to know as they say hello to strangers and will offer assistance without being asked. Kiwis dress casually but neatly. Most restaurants do not have dress codes and except in business dress is decidedly casual. Business dress is conservative, although jackets may be removed and shirt sleeves rolled up when working. Kiwis are environmentally concerned and have a strong desire to preserve their country's beauty. Maori. The Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand. Maori are generally friendly and reserved and place great value on hospitality. They will generally offer, often to the point of going without, assistance to their guests and will attempt to hide the inconvenience as much as possible. Maori will spontaneously launch into speech and song. Even though they may not have met each other, they will know many songs they can sing together and often use these to close or enhance speeches. The Maori culture is rich in tradition and legend and forms an integral part of New Zealand society. Maori tourism is a growing industry throughout New Zealand with large influences in the North Island. In Rotorua tourists can visit a unique Maori village and try Maori food locally called as kai, cooked underground on hot stones known as a hangi. Tourists can also watch traditional dance, visit a local mare, means meeting places of Maori people, and much more. Maori people define themselves by their tribe, known as iwi. Family is very important within the Maori culture and encompasses immediate family, in-laws, and all those connected by blood ties. Dance for the Maori people is a very important part of their culture. Kapa haka, the Maori performance art, incorporates singing, dancing, and facial expressions. Each action within the dance has a meaning, tying it to the words. The traditional Maori war dance, known as the haka, is performed by All Blacks, the national rugby team, before each game. Coming to climate and tourism. New Zealand has a mild and pleasant maritime climate with mean annual temperatures ranging from 10 degrees centigrade in the south to 16 degrees centigrade in the north. New Zealand weather and climate play a vital role in New Zealand tourism as it attracts a lot of tourists towards the country because of its pleasant weather conditions throughout the year and supports all forms of tourist activities. New Zealand has mild temperatures, moderately high rainfall, and many hours of sunshine throughout most of the country. New Zealand's climate is dominated by two main geographical features, the mountains and the sea. Temperature. New Zealand has a largely temperate climate, big variations between North and South Island weather. While the far north has subtropical weather during summer, and inland alpine areas of the South Island can be as cold as -10 degrees centigrade in winter, most of the country lies close to the coast, which means mild temperatures, moderate rainfall, and abundant sunshine. The warmest months are December, January, and February, and the coldest being June, July, and August. In summer, the average maximum temperature ranges between 20 to 30 degrees centigrade and in winter between 10 to 15 degrees centigrade. Seasons. New Zealand does not have a large temperature range, lacking the extremes found in most continental climates. However, New Zealand weather can change unexpectedly as cold fronts or tropical cyclones quickly blow in. Because of this, visitors should be prepared for sudden changes in weather and temperature if they are going hiking or doing other outdoor activities. Spring season is during September, October, November. Summer season, December, January and February. Autumn season, March, April and May. Winter season, June, July and August. Finally, coming to the summary. As the tourist tagline of New Zealand is 100% pure New Zealand, it offers really a pure experience in all types of tourism activities. New Zealand is one of the top holiday countries in the world with its clean green natural image, scenery, adventure, culture, friendly people and value for money. Tourists can see and personally feel themselves why New Zealand is often rated as one of the best tourist destinations in their visit to this naturally and culturally rich country. Thank you.